Looking for a super fast and easy 3D little heart pillow you can crochet up in about half an hour? This tutorial is for you. Hi, it's Krista at The Secret Yarnery. Today we are making these gorgeous, cute and sweet little crochet heart pillows. You can use them for a variety of things. You could even put some little potpourri inside or some of those scent beads and just keep them in your drawers or hang them from your doorknobs, make a big keychain, or even just keep them in a cute little bowl around your house. To make your little heart pillows, you're going to need yarn, 5 grams for each heart. So just little tiny baby scraps of yarn. It's a great stash buster. And a little bit of white for the edges. I use size 4 worsted weight yarn, but you could use whatever size yarn you have with whatever hook is suggested on the yarn label. For mine, I'm using a 6mm crochet hook. You will also need some polyester fiber or whatever you call it, some batting to fill up your hearts. Just little bits is great. You'll need a pair of scissors and a needle for tucking in your very last ends. Here are the timestamps. You can jump back into where you left off, and let's get started. To make your super cute crochet heart pillow, grab your yarn, any color you want at all. Make a slip knot, any which way you normally do. Shrink that down and pop it onto your hook. You could use a magic ring if you prefer. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to just slip stitch into that very first chain we made. We're going to slip stitch into that first chain to form a ring. So get everything underneath your hook with your yarn following along your tail, nice little U shape, and hold that open with your finger and thumb. And slip stitch to form a ring and chain 2. So our chain 2 does not count as a stitch. We're going to make 11 double crochets into the center of our ring, taking care to work over our tail. So 11 double crochets into the center of your ring, working over your tail. If you work over your tail, you can either pull it shut and sew it in or just cut your tail off, depending. So it's easier to go over your tail if you can, but not the end of the world if you are new to crochet. So pause the video. You want 11 double crochets into the center of your ring. And if you run out of room, you could just grab those starting stitches and slide your new stitches back, and that'll give you more space to lay your stitches nice and flat side by side. So 11 double crochets into the center of your ring, and I'll meet you back. And 11. To count your stitches, we don't count our chain, so I just cover that chain with my thumb and then count around after that chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. You want to make sure you have the right stitch count for this heart, for sure. It needs to be 11 double crochets, not including your chain. Now we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet right there. So ignoring our chain, it doesn't count. We're just going to go right into the top of that first stitch. So slip stitch to join. And I'm using some tension on my yarn, so I'm doing a small little slip stitch right at the top of my hook, just like that. And now chain 2. So again, the chain 2 doesn't count as a stitch. And into the same stitch right here, we're going to make 2 double crochets. So wrapping your yarn into the very same stitch, 2 double crochets. 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around. So you can pause the video, 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around, and I'll meet you back when we get all the way over here, right there. If you'd like to follow along with a written pattern, all of my patterns are available on my website, secretyarnery.com, and all of my patterns are written in plain English, just like I was sitting there right beside you. When you get back to the top of your circle, you've made 22 double crochets, not including that chain. We want to have 23, so we're going to put another double crochet right into this stitch at the bottom of our chain. That little tiny guy right there, we're going to throw in one double crochet right there. We want a total of 23 double crochets. There, just like that. And now again, we're ignoring our chain. We're going to slip stitch right into the top of that first double crochet to join. Just pop your hook in and another small little slip stitch to join. And this time we're just going to chain one. And into the next stitch right here, that's where we're going to start shaping our heart. So into this next stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet and a double crochet, all into the same stitch. Just like that. Now into each of the next 3 stitches, we're going to make 2 treble crochets into each. So wrapping your yarn twice and into that next stitch, 2 treble crochets. So that's a triple takeoff. So wrapping your yarn twice, and then we take off 3 times. So take off 2, and take off 2. So there's our first 2 treble crochets. We want to do that into each of the next 2 stitches. So 2 treble crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. So a total of 6 treble crochets into a total of 3 stitches. If I'm going too fast or too slow, you can speed me up or slow me down with using that gear on the video right there. Now into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. So 2 double crochets into the next stitch. 2 half double crochets into the next. So that's taking off all 3 loops at once. And now into each of the next 3 stitches, we're going to make 1 single crochet into each. So into the next stitch, 1 single crochet into the next, 1 single crochet, and into the third, 1 single crochet. So that is the top of our heart. Now we're going to work on the bottom. So into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. And into the next stitch, we're going to do 1 double crochet and 1 treble crochet into the same stitch. So there's my half double crochet. Wrap your yarn twice and a treble crochet into the very same stitch. Just like that. So that is half of our heart done. Now we're just going to mirror that all the way back along the other side. So chain 1 and into the next stitch, 1 treble crochet and 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. Into each of the next 3 stitches, 1 single crochet into each. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. And into each of the next 3 stitches, we're going to do 2 treble crochets into each. So wrapping your yarn twice and 2 treble crochets into each of the next 3 stitches. So there's 2 treble crochets into 2 stitches. So into my last stitch, 2 treble crochets, or into the next stitch actually. 2 treble crochets. Into the last stitch, 1 double crochet and 1 half double crochet into the same stitch, just like that. And now we're going to slip stitch to join. So I'm going to slip stitch right here, a nice little small slip stitch to join, just to pin down that side of the heart into that valley. So shrink up your yarn, want it to be nice and tight, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn. You can leave it long enough to sew in with a tail, or sew in with a needle if you are sewing them in. If you want to shrink shut this center hole, you can pull that tail and sew it in. If you don't care about that center hole, you can just go ahead and cut off that tail. So go ahead and make 1 more of these hearts, and then we're ready to make it into a pillow. So when you have made another heart, and of course you could make as many as you like, we are ready to turn it into a pillow. So lay them out, both pretty sides facing up. We want 1 pretty side facing down. It doesn't matter, but we want both of the pretty sides facing out. So after we sandwich it, both sides are pretty, like that. You also want your tails in the middle. We don't have to sew them in. And just kind of turn it up. We're going to be starting in the point of our heart. So grab your crochet hook and find that center space, that chain 1 space at the bottom of each heart, and just pop your hook in to both of those spaces. Grab your edging color. For me, I'm using white. Pop it onto your hook, bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join, and drop your tail. We have to poke that one in later, so don't worry about it. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to skip a stitch and work our way along the side. So our first stitch, we're going to work into the second stitch right here, and also the second stitch of the heart down below. If you sandwich your work, it can work out all right, but I find it easier to find each second stitch individually just to make sure my stitch count lines up on both sides the whole way around. So skipping a stitch and into the second, we're just going to make 1 single crochet, and I'm using quite a bit of tension. I don't want a loose single crochet. I want it to be a bit tight because we are joining with this single crochet, and then chaining 3. 1, 2, 3, skipping a stitch. So I'm going to skip this one and work into the second of both sides. So skipping this first and into the second, right there. 1 single crochet. Chaining 3, skipping a stitch and into the second of both hearts. 1 single crochet. Chaining 3, skipping a stitch and into the second stitch of both hearts. 1 single crochet. We want to do this all the way up until we get to this rounded part of our heart. So we'll do it 1 more time. Chaining 3 and into the second stitch of both hearts. 1 single crochet. Chain 3, skip a stitch and into the second stitch of both sides, both hearts, single crochet. And now we're at the top edge of our heart. You can see it's getting a little bit flatter. Our loop is getting a little flatter. So now we're going to chain 3 again, but I'm not going to skip a stitch. I'm going to go straight into the next stitch of both hearts and make a single crochet. And we're going to do that twice. So chaining 3 and into the next stitch, single crochet, chaining 3, and now we're going to go back to skipping. So I'm going to skip a stitch and go into the second on both hearts, like that. Chaining 3, and now we're right up at the top of our hearts, the valley. We don't need any ruffles in this area at all. So here we don't have to make a big loop or we're going to lose our heart shape. We're just going to go straight in to our heart, and we can go a little bit lower. We're going to go right into this space, right there on both hearts. Into that space, and the same spot on the other heart. And you can turn that over and see if you're in the right spot or not. You got to move over a bit. And into this spot on the heart underneath, anywhere underneath. You don't have to be right up at the top. You can go down a little bit for this stitch. And now instead of a single crochet, we're going to slip stitch. So I'm using a lot of tension. I'm pulling on my yarn. We want one little slip stitch right there. Still some tension. I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Now we can make sure our tails are poked down in the center of our heart. And whatever we skipped on this side, we're going to skip on that side. So I skipped 2, I'm going to skip 2, and I'm going to go into that third stitch on both squares, or both hearts, and make a single crochet. So now we're just going to mirror what we did on this side. So I'm going to chain 3 and skip 1. And into the second stitch on both hearts, 1 single crochet. And then for 2 loops, I'm just going to go into the next stitch. So chaining 3, into the next stitch, single crochet, chaining 3, into the next stitch on both hearts, single crochet. And now we can go back to doing our chain 3, skipping 1 all the way down along this side. We want to stop, leaving a little bit of an opening because we do have to stuff our heart. So chaining 3 and into the second stitch of both hearts, 1 single crochet, chaining 3, skipping a stitch into the second of both hearts, single crochet. And I'm going to do that one more time. So chaining 3, skipping a stitch and into the second stitch of both hearts, single crochet. Now I'm going to leave my hook there and grab some hollow fiber, just taking little bits of it, and I'm going to stuff each of these, or the top of our heart, each half of it. So I'm going to stuff one half first, right up at the top, and I'm going to stuff the other top of our heart, the other half. And then we can fill up the body. If you use smaller bits of hollow fiber, you get a nicer stuffing, a nicer fill. And you don't need it to be super plump because we are using larger stitches, so we don't want our hollow fiber coming out, but we do want it to be 3D, a little bit puffy like that. So when you feel that it's good, I need a little bit more in mine, I think. It's down here. Like that. Then we are ready to continue finishing off this side, or joining or closing it. So chain 3, skip a stitch and into the second stitch on both hearts, single crochet, chaining 3, skipping a stitch and into the second of both hearts, single crochet, and chaining 3. Now we're in to the same spot, that chain 1 space at the bottom of our heart. Go in and single crochet and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to slip stitch into the legs of our very first stitch. So the legs are these strands of yarn where we began. We're just going to pop our hook straight into the center of those legs and slip stitch to join. Chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, leaving a long enough tail to sew in with a needle later. Pull your hook up, your yarn through. Snug that down to secure. And now we can sew in our tails. If you have a gap in between the legs where we slip stitch, you can use that tail to just go and reinforce that, to just kind of fill it in. So thread your yarn needle and now go up and into that same spot. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of yarn just so don't flip the whole thing up, or the whole chain into my work. They'll give it a little anchor. And now see that hole? Right in the middle of it, I'm just going to go back down into that center, and that tail will cover it up, just like that. And now we can sew in our tail. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my chain. Like that. And now I can go into my heart and up. Anywhere, doesn't matter. Get that tail through. Give it a bit of a pull and cut your yarn. And then just massage your heart, and that tail will slide right into the middle of your little heart pillow and hide itself. So go ahead and do that with the other tail, and you're finished. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. I'm waiting for you in that video up there, and stay hooked.